back to the Cohobeatz podcast. Thank you all for joining, and now let's get into it. Alright, so I'm just going to kind of do what I did on the last podcast. I'm just going to ramble about some random stuff, so I actually just recently started listening to the Joe Rogan podcast. I'm sure like a lot of people know about that one. And so I was like really curious, so I just started watching them like probably like a month ago, like pretty heavily, but so I was really curious, and I went on his channel, and I went all the way down, like all the way back to the very beginning, whatever. I think it was from like correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was like 7 years ago or some shit when he started it. I could be wrong, but I think it's like 7 years ago when he first started it. And dude, you should see like just how far that podcast has come in 7 years. Like it's like literally one of the top podcasts in the world, probably I would say. So it's probably one of the top podcasts in the world. And you should see how it started. Like go to his channel and just go all the way back to like the first couple of ones. Like, but I mean he already had some stuff going on for him. Like of course by then, like he was already doing like comedy and like I think maybe already doing some UFC stuff by then. I'm not really too sure. But yeah, man, it just kind of inspired me, and it just goes to show it don't matter how like little something starts out. If you put in the time and the work, eventually it'll get to a point where it's where you want to be. You just gotta have faith, and you just gotta push to where you want to be. But that shit really like inspired me though, because I was like, damn, I was like, just to see the growth over 7 years. Think about it. Yeah, it sounds like a long time, but is 7 years really that long of it? It's not that long, really. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. And man, podcast is like the new wave, bro. Everybody's starting a podcast. It's crazy. I actually just was listening to the new podcast that Cohobeatz put out with Matt Corman. He did a podcast with I haven't really listened to any of Matt Corman's music. I'll probably go check it out after this, but he did a podcast with like a new artist or whatever, and it was a pretty good one. And then who else just started a another vegan? Yeah, vegan just started a podcast. That one was pretty dope. He did one with Silo, the producer that just signed to Jetson, I believe. And that was a pretty dope podcast. They talked about guitars and flutes, and they just talked about some other stuff about how they think the new wave, like you can't just ride what everybody else is doing. Just because everybody's doing guitars and flutes and stuff like that doesn't mean that you need to go try and do the same thing. Yeah, it could work. You could just do that. I mean, that's cool if you want to do that, but they were just talking about how just try to find the new wave. Like if you're on the wave right now, then you're late on the new one. So just try to find just try to be like different. And shout out to everybody that's been using my drum kit. A couple people sent me some links to some beats they made with the drum kit. That's pretty dope. And the next drum kit I'm gonna come out with, I'm gonna put a lot of time into. I'm gonna try to build mostly all the sounds from scratch. Like literally, cause I've been doing some research on sound design, and doing some watching some tutorials on that, and trying to get my just sound design better a little bit. The other day, a lot of times when I open FL, if I don't feel like trying to like make a beat or a melody, I'll just take random sounds, like just go into like a random plugin you have, like Sakura or GMS, just any of them plugins like that. Find like really weird sounds that you would never use as like an instrument, and record them into Edison, as like an audio clip, and then just tweak that audio. And so yeah, I'll just go into like plugins, like I'll just go into plugins like that and find some random noise and just record it into Edison, and then just like manipulate it, mess with the sample start time, mess with the out knob, and all those preamp effects or whatever. That's really almost all I do. I'll mess with those, I'll export it, and then I'll bring it in again so I could mess with it again, change it a little bit more. Then of course add like a little EQ on it, maybe like a limiter for a little bit of compression or something. And then maybe like a little fastest for like just a little bit of that crunch. And what else do I use on? Really, that's it. I don't really put in a whole bunch on it. just some compression and EQ, like like some light compression with the limiter. I don't really like to use I like to, when I'm using compression, I like to see it. I like to actually like see the audio and where I'm chopping it off at, or where I'm compressing it at. I'll use the other compressor sometimes, the regular fruity compressor, but I really like to use the limiter because you can see exactly what you're doing. But I don't really use it a whole lot. I don't these days. You really don't need to use a lot of compression. You just need to EQ the sounds and level them. Really, that's what I was talking to this other producer on IG that hit me up, and we were talking about how simple it is actually mixing these days because of all the sound packs that are out. Most of the drum kits, most of everything you get is gonna be processed and EQ'd and compressed. Like, all these sounds are basically like ready to go. So you don't have to do all these crazy things. Like, really, mixing to me, and we both had agreed on this. Mixing is literally, if you can get your sound selection right, your leveling, and your EQ, I feel like that's literally 95% of it right there. Sound selection, leveling, and EQ. If you get those three things down, your mix is fine. Like, literally, your mix is fine. And then from there, just like, you don't, and I mean, from there you're good. Really, just put some kind of limiter on it or some kind of thing to make it loud, and then of course soft clipper on the master. Oh, and another note, hopefully I'm gonna be putting some more videos on YouTube, like tutorial type videos, or like just like beat making videos. I got a couple of them up there, but I haven't really got all into the video making too much yet. I'm still pretty new to editing and filming and stuff like that. And but you know what they say? They say work with what you got. So I'm working with what I got, and I'm just gonna keep learning. And I mean, that's the key. Like, if you like, everything's gonna suck at first. Literally, I mean, you start making beats, your first beat sucks. You start playing basketball when you're like young or whatever, you probably don't make your first shot, you know what I mean? You start anything you start, you're not going to be that good at it first, but if you keep on, it goes back to that like 10,000 hour rule or whatever. You put 10,000 hours into something, you're going to be damn good at it by the end of it. So whether it takes 5 years or 10 years, just keep doing it. I mean, but then that also like a self-awareness thing. So like, after, you got to realize what you have the potential to be good at and things that you might not have that much potential at. Like me, I don't, like, I'm never going to be able to probably play the piano like Scott Storch or like Zay. You know what I mean? Like, I'm probably not going to ever get to that level with actually playing the piano, but like, I'm decent. Like, I can play the keys a little bit, not really. I'm just now starting to learn like a tiny bit of music theory, like just a little bit of music theory, not much at all. But I feel like that helps a lot. And then just practice. Like, it's really hard to practice playing piano on a MIDI keyboard that's, like the mini keyboard, the mini MIDI keyboards, like the Akai's that everybody uses. I have like a bigger keyboard that's a lot better to practice on as far as like, hand placement and stuff like that. But it just goes with everything else. I'm just keep practicing and eventually you get good. Lately, I've actually been clicking a lot of my stuff in, but what I'll do, here's my process here lately. I'll pull up a sound, I'll get my MIDI keyboard, and I'll play like some kind of simple pattern on the MIDI keyboard. I'll play that in just so I can get like the initial feel for what I want to go for. And then I'll click stuff in around that, or I'll go to a new sound, and I'll click in or sometimes I'll play the counter melody too, but I'll click in the chords around it, or, stuff like that. But I'll start out the bass, the basis on the MIDI keyboard or whatever. Alright, so that's pretty much going to wrap up this episode. Appreciate it if you made it this far, and peace. Catch you on the next one.